everybody. I'm Dr. Christy Taylor, founder of Work Solutions LLC and Work Global News Magazine. And I am so excited to bring you another feature for our Changemaker series. And today we are talking to Mrs. Glenda Benevides. She's an award-winning, Grammy-nominated singer-songwriter and Recording Academy voting member. She's known for her powerful voice and thought-provoking lyrics, and she has captivated audiences for decades with emotionally moving performances. I love music. I cannot wait to talk to you and jump to this conversation. So I want you to imagine the soulful, moving performances with people such as, Janis Joplin and Bessie Smith. That's Glenda. That's her authentic style, and her voice resonates deep, steeped in blues and soul. And she's someone who demands attention. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Glenda to introduce herself. Then we're going to jump into this conversation today. I'm so excited for this interview.
Dr. Christy, my honor. Thank you so much for having me on your amazing show. I'm so excited to be here. Yeah, making a difference, kicking it one day at a time.
Well, it's Women's History Month, so hey, I'm excited to feature you. Right. Just your powerful voice and experience. It says in your bio, it's like a dynamic preacher. Your message of empowerment, enlightenment, and unity through self-expression moves listeners from head to toe. So let's start there, right? Let's talk about your journey and as a Grammy-nominated artist, author, and speaker. Looking back, what's been the most defining moment in your career?
I think this has it's been a surprise. Actually, I've been in the Recording Academy for about 3 years, and which I'm honored to be in, and I've been submitting my music in roots category, and just meeting a lot of people. It's been fabulous. And then a young man. No, not really. You want to say that a young man? He is from Ecuador, and he reached out to me and said, "Hey, I'm doing this blues album. Would you like to work on it with me? I'd love your voice, that kind of thing." And I was like, "Sure, why not?" And so the album's called The Fury, and it's an album that's been submitted, for nomination for Grammys, and we got the nomination. So I was blown away, because I was like looking through the categories, going, "Okay, I didn't get anything. Okay, my next song, I didn't get anything." And then all of a sudden, "Oh yeah, the album I worked on." I went down there. Oh my God! I just couldn't actually, like, when I wanted to just touch myself, I was numb for like a week. Like I hadn't, when you get the nomination, you're just numb. So anyway, it was very exciting.
It's fantastic to meet you at this point where you're like, oh, it's this all of this work that I've done is starting to pay off. I want to go back to early in your career, what got us here, right, to this point, because that is a huge thing to be Grammy nominated. But you look at your title that you put on the screen here, Glenda Music Global Badass Goddess, right? You know what I'm saying? Let's talk about all the things because you were badass before this. So let's talk about all of the things leading up to this point of your career. What has been your experiences, and how did you even get to this point?
Yeah, and though I think the one thing I just want to start out with is saying, it's one foot in front of the other, and you really just gotta find out who you are, develop who you are, start evolving who you are. And as you go along, you start to go, "Oh yeah, I want to do that. Oh yeah, I want to do that." And I've been fortunate in my life to be in that mindset and to meet people, because you draw in people that are of like mind and other people that want to help you grow and learn, and that's not necessarily positive. And so that's how it just evolves. And so I've been singing professionally since I was 16, and every step of the way I just consistently said, "What's next? What's next? What's next?" And how do I make a difference? How do I, and it's different every time, and it's different at every stages of life, as you may know. This is not just a one size fits all and it's done. And no, this is a journey, as we all say, right? So that, and I just, I toured early days when I was younger. I spent time Korea, Japan, Taiwan, Canada, most of the US, touring with my music and bands and that type of thing, and I think it just, for me, that those were all milestones. Like those are all markers along the way. And they were all reflections of who I am and who I was at the time and where I want to go next. So I would say that's, I hope that answered your question.
It did, because I'm like, now I'm going to be consistently saying, I think that we make life so complex, right?
Yes.
And you just two words there. What's next,
Yeah. What's
right?
next? Yeah.
What's next? Now you've spoken about, even in just answering that question, you spoke about the importance of evolving as an artist to ensure longevity in
Yes.
your career. How have you adapted to industry changes while staying true to your creative vision?
Woo. That's a tough question. No. Um, I think for me, I never put myself in, I never pigeonholed myself. Okay. So I just consistently looked from a place of who am I? What do I want to say? And how do I contribute? So I start there. And once you start there, then you go, okay, what's going on around me? Because trust me, it's not a picnic. It's not like, oh, it was just so easy. I just, everybody has their trials, right? Everybody has their areas. It's just how do I perceive it and how do I handle it? When you come up against those things that are really challenging, attitudes, people, failures, whatever, all those things all make up who you are for the next stage of your life. And so I think that's pretty much how I saw that with, especially with inside the industry, because it changes so quickly and it's not necessarily the most easy, positive type of experience. I mean, it's a lifestyle. Like being an artist is a lifestyle. So yeah, you got to get clear. Mm-hmm.
No, to your point of, what's next, what's next. I think people consistently ask that question, because people do ask that question, right? But what's next, what's next, what's next, but not wanting to deal with all of the things that come with what's next. And that's part of the journey that you've talked
Yeah.
about. And I'm going to ask you, I'm going to jump into some fun stuff too, but I want to
Okay.
talk too in terms of, like, your music is so deeply rooted in empowerment and storytelling. And even when you talk about, like, you saying in this blues type,
Yeah.
blues and soul, right? How do you decide, like, in your music, you tell stories about your experiences, and how
Mm-hmm.
do you decide like which stories that need to be told through your work, and what impact do you hope that it makes
Yeah.
on your audience?
Yeah. I try to not only look within, but I'll see friends and family around me and what's going on in the community. And then I go, what needs to be said? What is it that touches me or infuriates me or inspires me that makes me want to talk about something or share something, and then I hopefully can pull it together and and make a difference. And then one of the things I did want to add to this, being Women's Empowerment Women's Week, month, and we're celebrating us and all our glory. I really wanted, I did a song a few years back called Lulu White, and I really felt like she, kind of to your question, right? I felt like she was a woman that really needed her story told from a different perspective. And how I found out about her was I was on this deal about really honoring women, which I usually am, but I'm just saying with this one focus with music. And I started looking around. I go, okay, who's a badass goddess, in New Orleans, right? And so I was looking around, and you had all your basic ones, and I thought, no, I wasn't looking for a voodoo queen, and all of a sudden I saw Lulu White, and I go, who's Lulu White? And Lulu White is an amazing, amazing businesswoman. This woman was in the late 1800s. Talk about self-possessed, going beyond all the rules, all the prejudice, all the, patriarchy, whatever you want to call it. She went beyond that, had her own business, several businesses. And this woman was at one point was making I'm just like freaked out about this. Like she had a dress that was $5,000 in the late 1800s. Okay. Like
Now I got to look at what is the equivalency of that. Go ahead and keep talking while I look
right?
on GPT.
Oh my God.
I know
And
that has to be about a $250,000 dress. I
right?
can't even afford a $5,000 dress today. That's
Thank
amazing.
you. I can even look at a 5,000. But I was like, "Who is this woman?" And I just started digging and digging about her. And, she owned a brothel, it wa in, Storyville, and, which is a part of the French Quarter, right out of the French Quarter right there. And, where it was a time where either women you were married, you were working for your father, or you were like a chambermaid or, a
Yeah.
housekeeper or something, that you had no empowerment at all. She was like, "Mm-mm, I'm gonna make this up. I'm gonna call my girls octoroons, excuse me, not octagons, octoroons, and I'm gonna create this whole brand." And she did, and she brought people in from all over the world to see her girls. But I still think that's impressive. I don't judge how that is, but what I do judge is that we have to look and acknowledge what she did and the time period that she did. And if she can do that with everything against her at the time, what could we do? That was the
Yeah.
question.
I saw something similar. There was a woman in Natchez, Mississippi, who did the same thing, and it's like, consciously, it's like, no, I would never promote you owning a brothel or something like that. But it's like these women were living in periods where it's like they kind of made a hustle, like they kind of made a way for themselves out of nothing,
Yes.
right? And
Yes.
which shows they had a strong, determined mindset. So I
That's
got to look
right.
her up, right?
That's
I mean,
please.
you kind of answered my next question. I was going to say, it's part of this. Like, did you have any specific titles to songs or things?
Yeah.
Were there any other songs that you put out there where it has like this type of significant meaning that maybe people should check out?
Yeah, I mean, different things for different reasons, right? So we walk on past, which is my latest, and that's really a snapshot of where we are today, um, how we are with each other, how we are just stepping over things, stepping over, another lonely woman, another hungry child, we walk on past, that type, that's where I was like looking from. And just, it came from actually a story that a friend of mine had experienced with a homeless man, that was, dragging himself across the tarmac at a gas station, and everybody was just like this, you know, just not gonna look at that. And he was just like, "Where's the humanity?" He jumped out of his car. He was on his way to work. He jumped out of his car and helped this guy, got him some water, took care of him, that kind of thing. And, it made me think about, what are my choices? Where am I, what am I thinking about? How am I handling my community? How am I handling myself? And how do I make that difference? And I think that's been pertinent my whole life ever since I was a child. I've always been this way. It wasn't just like, well, it's, 2000 and let's make a difference. It's like, no, it's always been in my DNA. And so I'll want to write things about that, or I want to talk about that. Um, my book is a teaching memoir. So you get to hear stories of how I failed and how I felt, and those type of things, and then how I overcame, things. So that's, and I give little instructions like, hey, this is what to think about, when you come up against those kind of things. So the same thing with, I just blend the the music and the life with the book,
Well, what I love about this is that, again, I've done so many of these interviews. Even, we just launched this magazine in January,
Mm,
and it really came from a
mm,
whole year prior of me just like, okay, I'm a career coach. I'm gonna do this, but
yeah,
then some kind of way we entered the social impact space, and it became this whole thing of working with people, putting on events and showcasing. And what I
nice.
love about listening to you is that change can come in the form of different things. People think I got to march in the streets, I got to do this, and we don't get political here. But what I will say is that change can be also through this art form of expression. How you are expressing yourself. You're using your music. We're going to talk about your writing in just a moment. But you're
Yeah,
using your music and the things you do to highlight, the importance of change and being someone of social impact. We live in a society today, because you just triggered something in me where that same person that you saw walking past you, we live in a society today where somebody will take out their phone and record that person, right? But won't go up to them, right?
Right?
And I think that that's something, right? They'll record that person. Oh, look at that person. I'm so sorry for them, or I feel bad, or whatever. Record them and put them on TikTok or social media, and it's almost it's unintentional humiliation, but won't go up to that person to direct them. So even what your friend did, to go up to them and support them, and try to help them in the way that he did, that's a change maker,
Yeah,
because somebody has
absolutely.
to be right. And you writing that song, that's making a change. Let's move this forward. We're gonna come back to this book and your writing, right? And because you're not just doing this and expressing music, and highlighting some of these social issues and social injustices, and these stories like you shared of
Yeah.
these historical figures and people who have impact. Now, you're currently working on an empowering retreat in Dover, UK,
Yeah.
which just shows how little of the world I have traveled, because I was like, Dover, Delaware. what, what inspired you to create this experience, and what do you hope participants will take away from
Well, kind of a little selfish reason. Well, first of all, I've spent, nonstop, just really, if you want to drill down, taking care of myself and trying to understand why I do the things that I do, right? And so I'm constantly working on myself, with the inquiry, the questioning, the actual, as my brand is, music unity action, right? So music unity action. So bringing people together, also going into action, so don't just like, it's not like that. Um, Tensions are paved with, that type of thing, right? And so I just really started there, and then well, the book itself came from, how do you do that? Clarity, courage, confidence, commitment, and community. That's the foundation of any type of transformation, any type of anything in your life. You have to be clear about who you are. You have to, in order to have the courage to do something. Doesn't matter what it is. In order to have, you have to be clear. Then you have the courage. Then you get confidence because you practice that courage. I'm going to do that again. I'm going to do that again. Then the confidence comes, right? Then right after the confidence, you get the commitment. It's like, okay, I'm committed to this. Or no, I'm not committed to that. Like, that's too much for me. And that's kind of how the retreat started, right? Because I originally started like, well, I'm really making a difference for people. So how do I put this in a retreat so it helps other people, right? How do I not teach, but how do I support women to step into their own empowerment, to their own relaxation, their own, really embracing their goddessness, right? So that's kind of how that started. And then you have the final thing is community. Then you have community, because what's happening is the clarity that you bring, the courage that you are, the commitment that you have, and that's when you can really start to embrace community. Otherwise, you're just all over the map. Who knows where you are? And that's just kind of how I see it. And that's what I brought to the retreats. And that's what we're going to do in Dover in September.
I was gonna say, what are the dates for those? And if since I just learned that there's a Dover, UK.
Right? The
All
White
right.
Cliffs of
So,
Dover.
what are the dates? The dates in September that you're planning to have this? And if somebody's coming to this whole empowerment piece, what can they expect of the day in the life of a retreat with Glenda B?
Yeah. Well, we've got Dr. Madeline Chan. She's awesome. We've got Dr. Jacqueline Kerbeck. Those are kind of the teaching areas that those doctors, we're bringing them in for women to not only learn how to listen and express, right, but be able to relax. So it's really around rejuvenating, and not just like, there are some retreats that are just yoga, or there's some retreats that are just floating around not doing anything. This is allowing you the platform to go a little deep within yourself and to discover yourself, to journal, to have music, to have that expression in yourself. So that's what we're going to do for those 3 days. It's actually a 4-day, but the first day you get there, you check in, you get your room, your hotel room and everything like that, and relax. It's like a lot of us don't know what it's like to relax. Like, what does that mean? Right. So that's kind of what we're doing. So it'll start on the 17th. We'll have everybody gather on the 17th, fly in. Then the official retreat starts 18, 19, 20. And that's how it's going to be. So.
And you're out here hosting books. I wish I could be. I mean, I consider myself great. I mean, I'm sorry. You're out here hosting retreats. You're writing music. You're doing all of this social justice work, and I consider myself a great leader, a great woman. But I mean, it's just you're amazing.
Oh.
The level of diversity. Because now I want to talk about this book. Okay.
Okay.
Tell me a little bit the name of the book. What is this thing about? And how's it moving along? Okay.
Sure. Well, it's called Courage, Find Your Fire, and Ignite Action in Your Life. I think that happens a lot of times for those of us, we don't know how to ignite action. We have the dreams, we have the fantasies, we have the ideas, we step forward, then we move back, then we'd stop, So again, it's what I call a teaching memoir. And it shares stories and also gives you good insights on how to approach that for yourself. So we have kind of like a little workbook in there, so it's fun. And then I have another book called Own the Goddess Within and Soul on Fire. So those two books are more of like mantras, affirmations, different things that you can work on, and it's just fun. So those are just
Where can people find your books
inspirationally.
on Amazon? I mean, where
Yeah,
can they go?
Amazon. Yep, it's real easy to find them. You can also go on my website. They're there. You just click on, find my books. And Glenda, you can do glendamusic.com, is my website, but Amazon, it's easy. Just type in Courage, Find Your Fire, and Ignite Action in Your Life, or Own the Goddess Within, or Soul on Fire, those type of things. So that they're all there.
Yeah,
Easy
she's
enough.
not just a Grammy nominated singer songwriter. She's a real writer, author. Like she's doing music, writing books, doing retreats. And then we talk about powerful women. I
Oh,
mean, so she's out here in these streets. Let's talk about so you're doing these retreats, you're doing all this awesome stuff to just support people and
people.
women
Yeah.
coming into
Yeah.
their own, right? And
Yes. Yes.
recognizing this, success is often seen as like these external achievements, and you have a lot of it, right? But you define it as being in alignment with your passion and truth, which you've spoken so much about today. How can others shift their mindset really to embrace this kind of success in their own lives? And I do want to caveat that by saying, I think, and you'll probably agree, I like to say define success for yourself. When people, they try to live up to other people's version and vision of success, right? I
Yeah.
consider myself successful. I am not a millionaire, nowhere near it,
Right.
but the
Right.
things I've been able to do,
Yeah.
like you said, it took you years to become Grammy nominated. So how in your definition or sense of success, how can others shift their mindset to do similar work and define success for themselves and place this in their own lives?
That is a really great question. And you put the word right in there, mindset. It's your mindset. It's like we have to, as a community, as an individual, you have to be aware, like be conscious. Stop running. Stop distracting yourself. Stop and take a look within. Ask those questions. Just be curious. If you're curious, let's say you're a really hot guy and you're like, or girl, whatever, you're really curious about them. You was going to ask some questions, right? And I wonder
Yeah.
what, right? So do that for yourself. Like, I wonder why I did that. I wonder why I said that to that person. Ooh, that made me feel that hurts, or that's uncomfortable, or that's weird. Like those are really good markers for yourself to stop, ask those questions, and wait for the answer. Wait for it, because it will come. And then you can start to self-evaluate. And from that moment, we all have bad habits, we all have bad behaviors. So from that moment on, you can go, okay, I don't want to do that anymore. What do I need to do to help myself stop that or shift that, however you want to call it, evolve myself. How do I do that? And sometimes it's like getting a coach. Is sometimes it's with business or whatever. Sometimes it's like looking a little deeper, getting yourself like doing shadow work, getting a therapist, whatever you need it, and just love yourself through it. Like that's all there is. The more
So you
love that you the more love that you can give yourself, the more you have available for others.
we talked about success and how you define it, and you talked about the work that you do, music, unity, and action. Those are your central missions, right?
Yeah.
I have to touch on this before we get out of this interview. I have to ask you from a
Yeah.
bigger standpoint, right? And it's hard to ask you without making this political, but so we're gonna stay away from the politics, but I have to ask you as somebody who also does social change in a very apolitical way. How do you use your platform? And I think you've described it here about, the things that you do to inspire others, but how do you, in a succinct sentence, how do you use your platform to inspire activism and social change? You know, because it's so much more than the music and the writing.
Yeah, yeah. I think all of us have to pick it. So part of it for me is I'm a big environment person. So because I know that we need some help in that area, and I really feel that we need to educate people because we're not taught those things in school. We're not taught that 80% of your oxygen comes from the ocean. Like I didn't know that, you know, or the trees are the lungs of the planet. You're like, what? Like those are the kind of things that nobody's just like readily telling us about, that type of thing. So once you find those things out, again, be curious. Then you make your choice. Like for right now, for me, what I do is anytime you purchase anything of mine, like my music or my books or my merchandise, whatever, um, I take a dollar off of that and I buy a tree. So basically what I'm doing is I'm working with One Tree Planted, and One Tree Planted, they go and they hire people in different communities that go plant trees. So we get to reforest together. So I'm reforesting and you're buying my stuff, so you're helping me and I'm helping you help reforest. So it's like a win-win, and so I mean everybody's got their thing, right? And that's my thing. My thing is that. So, and I just try to keep a high road. It's real easy to fall into the low road. I've done it a lot. That kind of thing.
But I love what you just said, because I think that sometimes people think that with change starts one person at a time, right? You
That's right.
donate to organizations and using your talent and God-given gifts. You're building a business for yourself, right? Where you
That's
built this
right.
business for yourself, but you're taking pieces of that and giving back. So I think that when we talk about dynamic change, it's those pieces that we do being who we are, like your inspiration, your
Yeah.
music, where you're getting a message out there, where you did the research, wrote a song about a woman who was inspiring, or the work that you've done that's inspiring, and then you're working on this retreat, these projects, you're writing these books that inspire people to change their
Yeah.
mindset, to get into this right space. You're donating money to causes and things that you're passionate about. Because people think that to be this change maker, that I must make $1 million. We don't have $1 million.
No.
I mean, if you got it, you got it. But start where you are, use what you have. One final question for you. You got a lot of projects going on. You got a lot of things on the horizon. You're touring, you're writing, you're recording. What's next for you? And what message, this is really, it's two in one, right? Because you got all of this stuff on the horizon. I always like to ask people in their final question, what message do you want to leave with the audience? It's whether it's 2025, 2035, somebody's listening to this interview. What's the one thing, projects you have coming up, and then what's the one message, the timeless message that you want to leave our audience with today?
Yeah. There's there's so much to be done. Um, right? As women, there's so much to be done. Um, I would just say for me, what's next is, of course, is continuing to tour. With anybody's business, this is a business. So my music is a business, and I'm, really finally just not saying to myself, this is a creative adventure. I want it to be a bigger business than it is. So business, you've got to have more platforms. You got to be out there. You got to be really showing people why do they want to be playing with you? Why do they want to buy your music? Why? So those are big questions for people, and myself, obviously. And I would also say, just to leave somebody with something really empowering, the power is within. So whatever you're doing, designing, creating, it's all from within first. It's in here that goes out there. So if you're having a life that you're not happy with, that isn't working for you, then you need to do the self-reflection, and you need to really, really, really design it how you want it, even if it's not the way you want it right now. And you have to get beyond that. It's kind of like that someone told me, like, fake it till you make it kind of
Mm-hmm.
thing, right? And it's like, what? But if you smile long enough, you'll start laughing, right? It's that kind of thing. So same thing with your visualization, same thing with moving yourself into the business that you want, the life that you want, the relationship that you want. So that, I think that's really where I would say it's mindfulness. It starts within, not outside of you. Nothing was going to make you powerful, magical, loved, whatever. It is not going to come from the outside. It's always going to come from the inside out, the reflection.
Fantastic. I'm pretty sure we're gonna have so many little snippets from this interview because you're such an inspiring person.
I hope so.
Glenda, it
Thank
has been
you.
fantastic to interview you today. Where can people find you? Throw those websites out there again. We'll have all of her stuff posted in the description, guys. So no matter which platform you find this on,
Yeah,
but where can people find you?
easy peasy, GlendaMusic.com. Pretty simple. It's harder when you say Benevides, right? Because you could misspell it a million ways, because my URL is GlendaBenevides.com. But Glenda Music goes right to GlendaBenevides.com. You can find everything there, and the retreat will be up there too. And you can find my books. It's on Amazon, easy peasy. And I do see who buys, so I do count how many people have purchased. So I do buy a tree for you. So you may be in spirit, but I definitely buy the tree for you. So yeah, that's it. Glenda Music.
Well, fantastic. Thank you guys, and thank you, Glenda. And thank you guys for tuning in, no matter when you're tuning in, and just be inspired. Remember to start where you are, use what you have, and
Yes.
be the change maker, because we all have that potential. You can find us on Work Global News, WORXK News.com, or even WORK News.com. And soon we'll be available on all multiple streaming platforms. And currently, you can find us on YouTube and LinkedIn as well. So stay focused, be a change maker, start where you are, and have a great day.
Awesome. Thank you.